Hello, I'm Lora Windsor. I'm a social worker. I've been specializing in grief counseling for the last 20 years, and for the last 15 years I facilitated groups for Conley Outreach Community Services. I've discovered that many grievers turn to books, and a book I would like to share with you is by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichi, and it's called Notes on Grief. It's about the author's loss of her father. The author is Nigerian American. She went to Yale when she came to our country. She wrote a popular book less than 5 years ago called Americana. And if you'd like to get to know the author, I encourage you to watch her TED Talk on YouTube. It's called The Danger of a Single Story. And it's about stereotypes and how not all people are alike. And it can apply to grief as well. Not all grievers are alike. This book is a short read about grief. On the jacket of the book, it's described as a meditation on loss and a tribute to her father, which I agree with. I found that the beauty of the book is in her choice of words, in her descriptions and observations. I'd like to read to you one of her descriptions about grief early on in the book. She says, "Grief is a cruel kind of education. You learn how ungentle mourning can be, how full of anger. You learn how glib condolences can feel. You learn how much grief is about language, the failure of language, and the grasping for language." One of her lighter comments about grief has to do with laughter. She describes it as another revelation in her experience, how much laughter is a part of grief. Laughter is tightly braided into our family argot. That's a new word to me. I had to look it up. It means slang. And now we laugh remembering my father, but somewhere in the background there is a haze of disbelief. The laughter trails off. The laughter becomes tears and becomes sadness and becomes rage. Adichi describes grief like no other author that I've ever read. Her choice of words is very engaging to me. One component of it that I particularly latched onto is the age of her father. So she mentions early that her father was 88 years old, and it was an unexpected death. She says, "Needle pricks of resentment flood through me at the thought of people who are more than 88 years old, older than my father, and alive and well." Later, she describes how I thought I had more time. I was so sure he was 90s material. I love that phrase. She says, when people say to me, he was 88, it so deeply riles because age is irrelevant in grief. At issue is not how old he was, but how loved. Yes, he was 88, but a cataclysmic hole now suddenly gapes open in your life, a part of you snatched away forever. "It has happened, so just celebrate his life," an old friend wrote, and it incensed me. I think that's one of the best descriptions that I've read about the factor of age and how it feels to us when it is somebody very important to us. I find that some of her observations are very profound. She describes the deep love for her father. She describes some cultural differences between Nigeria and America. She reflects on her father, his life, his kindnesses, his support of her, and more. The books, in my opinion, the book seems to be in a genre all by its own. It's a quick read that can have a profound effect. In closing, I'd like to read one of my favorite quotes of hers. We don't know how we will grieve until we grieve. And even then, the grief for each different loss is different. And I hear that over and over from people when they think back on their lives and how they have grieved and mourned. I encourage you to check this out. Notes on Grief by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichi.